So we're here on November 8th, 2006, watching a DVD of the UCLA Band at the Academy Awards of 1969 with John Hayes.
Okay, the 1969 Academy Awards probably took place in March sometime, I would guess, as usual. Um, and it seemed like the nominations came out in, let's say, would that be early February? I'm trying to get a time frame on this because it had to have been after the nominations came out, and the director of the show was Gower Champion. Um, he and his wife were a famous dance team, and he was a famous choreographer, and kind of a Gene Kelly type, if that helps you, if you don't know who he was. But anyway, he called up the band one day because at that time, and called up Kelly and asked said he was trying to figure out something to do with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and he couldn't think of anything to do. He was thinking about having a marching band march behind a dancer and have it where the band would kind of come and kind of force her out of the way and kind of move in on her and give her something to dance around and just show something like that. And he wondered if we were interested in doing that. So Kelly said yeah. So Kelly and I went down to his office, and he laid out an idea that he had to have a marching band come on stage and march with Paula Kelly, and so Kelly talked to him about how long he wanted the piece and things like that, and we had several other meetings with him, and Kelly did an I don't know whether Kelly, at that time, one of our best arrangers was Lar Best. He was a trombonist in the band. He went on to being a band director, I think, down in the San Diego area after he got out of school. But he was either he or Kelly did an arrangement of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, incorporating his ideas about what it should sound like. And I think the part about when it featured the tuba players, I remember that we were told, because I think you could hear the tuba player especially playing a solo there, wasn't it? Yeah, because I think that was all pre-done, because that part I wasn't particularly. Kelly and Lar worked that out, and then what we did was then he wanted this dance routine of the band marching around and some sort of formation, and they designed that, and then we had another couple of meetings and went over it with them, and anyway, all this happened in early March, and right about that time we were hitting spring break, and and it was also the time of the basketball playoffs, and so the band was going to all these regionals and finals and things like that. And I remember we got back from the basketball trip, and the next night Kelly was in an auto accident, or one of those nights right in there afterwards, and I know he banged himself up and banged his head up really bad, and so he was he wasn't coming into school, and at the same time, Mr. Sawhill had I believe had a diabetic attack at that time, and he was out, and so this was coming down a couple of 3 weeks right before right at the start of spring quarter. So Laura did the music part of it, and I just helped organize the things that we needed to do. And so I went down and got the measurements of, you saw all those white, those stage, the part of the scenery there, you know, where those pillars are. So we got the measurements of where all those were going to be, and we put it out here on the concrete by the fountain. And every Friday, for 2 Fridays and a couple other days, the band would go out there and we would just march through this routine, coming in from certain of those pillars. And then we practiced the music inside, and then practiced the music outside a couple of times, and then it was set up then that we would then have the rehearsal on Sunday afternoon. I think the show was Monday night, and I think we had a rehearsal Sunday afternoon scheduled. And so they had already told us that we were only going to be allowed to be in the theater a few minutes before we performed, and then right after we performed we'd have to leave because it was too crowded back there. So anyway, we went down for the rehearsal, and we marched through the routine once while the dancer and Gower Champion watched, and then she would kind of walk through the thing, and then we started from the top and did it again, and with her doing her dance routine that she'd practiced, and then after that they got together and talked about it. And this was the part that I always found interesting, was he'd allotted 2 hours there, and he also thought that he may not like the sound of our band playing the thing, so he had it all arranged for the pit orchestra to play it. And at the end of 2 times through the thing, which was about 20-25 minutes, he said, well, he was kind of laughing, saying that it was just perfect. And that he said, you have no idea how much money we're wasting here over the next hour and a half with all the camera crews and the musicians there, and everybody was just on a free break because they didn't have to rehearse anymore. And then then we took the band down there that Monday night, and we got there about 6:30, I think, something like that, I remember. And then we went in and did our routine at whenever the show started. And that doesn't sound right, 6:30. I think they must have started it at 5, whatever. But anyway, right after we were done, we had to leave, and so we left and got back to school here. And I remember after that I went over to Kelly's, and I got over there before the show was over, so it couldn't have taken that long for us to get out. But I just remember I was just happy it went so well, that's all, because it could have, you know, knowing what I've seen sometimes, you know, with when they get really nervous at these big shows, you know, they just get that they get so where they get so nervous they don't want to let you do anything, you know. So
Who wrote the drill? Who worked out the drill?
Laura did. We were usually, a lot of our routines that we did for God, I guess most of the I'd say from about the mid 60s, on were usually the routines were done by a student or former student, a lot of who was really interested in doing the routines. I know Tom Campbell did a lot of the marching routines in the mid 60s, and then and Laura was particularly interested in learning the arranging and because that's what he wanted to do, and he was particularly talented at it. So but the I'm just trying to think if there was anybody else, but I think it was those two mainly that did them during that period.
Okay.